nice to be back in my hometown. And to see so many friendly, happy, familiar faces. Yeah, woo, yeah. Just for those of you who don't know what's going on, I've been away for 9 months, and tonight is the recording night of my show that I'm doing for one night and one night only in Dublin. And I'll never do it again. No matter how good it is, how bad it is, this is it. It's only ever going to happen here. So, I know that's a lot of pressure, but don't fuck this up. Welcome to The Money Shot. Yes. And I can see the reviews now. Wow, I laughed so much, I learned so much. However, I was a little bit disappointed by the completely misleading title. Not once was there a mention of a German plumber that turned up at a scantily clad woman's home to help her with the delicate cycle on her Whirlpool 4000. However, Aidan's steely-eyed stare and his winning smile took me to a whole new dimension. Aidan Killian, what a hot piece of ass, 5 stars. The show's about money, and I meant to know about money because I used to be an investment banker and I had all the stuff that they had. I had houses and properties, and then the banks came after me, and I was a comedian, I couldn't pay them back, and I explained to them, look, I'm a comedian, my currency is laughter. How many jokes do you want? They sent me a legal letter. At the top it said, without prejudice. I didn't know what that meant. I looked it up. It means cannot be used in a court of law. What are they trying to hide, sneaky scumbags? So I wrote back my own letter at the top, big black bold letters, with prejudice. This matter is now settled. And I enclosed my very first comedy DVD. And at the bottom I wrote my own legal language. No swapsies backsies. But those of you who know me know that I genuinely believe in debt forgiveness. And I don't just say it, I back it up with my actions. I borrowed money from a bank, I didn't pay them back. And I forgave myself. Not everybody agrees with that. Some people say, well, Aidan, what would happen if people actually listened to you? What would happen if everybody in the world didn't pay their debt back? We would be debt-free. Yeah. Few people in debt in Ireland. But I used to get angry with the banks, and I don't, not so much anymore. Honestly, I don't. Not the way I used to get angry with them. And I asked myself, how can I deal with this anger? And I thought, well, I better ask the person who has ultimate forgiveness. What would Jesus do? Like, he was on the cross, they stabbed him with a spear. He said, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. Even at the wedding, when he turned the water into wine because the Irish gay crashers came along, and he was cool, he completely forgave them. So what did Jesus do with the bankers? He made a whip. He didn't buy it in a sex shop like the rest of you. No, he made a whip. And what annoyed him, you see, at the time was the temple tax was that you had to have a half shekel. Have a half shekel. Half a half. That sounds like a quarter shekel. I'm glad nobody heckled the shekel. You had to have this coin because the Jew God would not he wouldn't accept monies with the emperor head on it. Oh, Jew God. Just in case anybody's offended that I said Jew God, the reason I said Jew God is because Jew God used to get very moody if anybody mispronounced Jew God's name. And I know what you're thinking. No way. Yahweh. So the priest would trick the poor people, and they go up with the coin, and they go up and say, I'll toss you for it. Now, if they were a Catholic priest, they would have said, you can toss me for it. So Jesus went in with his whip. He went in and he said, something like, get out, you den of thieves, you vipers. Barclays Bank, you fixed the LIBOR rate and you got away with it. JP Morgan, you've been manipulating the silver market for years. Goldman Sachs, you scumbags, on behalf of everything good in this world, die! Matthew 21:12, uncut. Now, I'm not sure if everybody knows this about Jesus, but I have this thing at home called Google. And it turns out he disappeared from the age of 12 to 30. Some people said that during those 18 years where he disappeared, it wasn't one of his magic tricks, where he disappeared, he went to India. And if he did go to India, he would have learned the ways of Buddha. He would have come back with infinite love and compassion. He would have come back enlightened. But more than that, he would have come back with an Indian accent. I'm the Son of God. Why aren't you taking me seriously? Matthew in the background starts doing an impression of Jesus. I'm the Son of God. I'm the Son of God. Luke says, stop, you can't do that. That's racist. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm just doing an impression of an accent, and anybody who thinks that's racist is wrong. And everybody agreed. Even Jesus said, absolutely 100% not racist. Now he had a friend, Peter. Peter was the rock upon which this church would be built. He was the gate, you know the gates of St. Peter, the pearly gates. But Peter didn't understand. He was a bit, he was a bit slow. And he's like, this is bullshit, Jesus. Everybody else gets to go to heaven, and I've got to wait for eternity at the gates. Mary Magdalene gets to go. She's a woman. Zacchaeus, with a name like that, he's probably gay. And Judas, he's a Jew. I know we're all Jews, but he's the Jewiest Jew of us all. Oh, Peter, Peter, Peter. You have so much animosity for the women, the gays, and the Jews. You will make a great first pope. 5 days after the whipping, Jesus gets crucified. Now, I'm not saying that the bankers definitely killed Jesus. I'm just saying sometimes with conspiracy theories, if there's a pattern, it makes me suspicious. Because if we look at like other people who stood up against the bankers, like American presidents, Andrew Jackson, he vetoed Congress to stop the private bankers owning the national bank. Shot twice. Abraham Lincoln stood up against the bankers, issued his own debt-free currency, shot and killed. John F. Kennedy did the same, issued his own debt-free currency, shot and killed. Now, I'm not saying that the bankers definitely killed him. All I'm saying is that I would love to hear the words, "I will destroy the banks," come from the mouth of Donald Trump. I'm not just picking on him because it's easy, and it is easy because you know what? We would have voted for him in Ireland not so long ago, mainly because of his immigration policy. Yeah, I will build a wall. I will build a great big wall. Believe me, nobody builds a wall better than me, and that wall will keep out the non-Europeans. The English. And I'll make those fuckers pay for that wall. I can see his motto now. Let's make Ireland grand again. And just because I'm not like pro-Trump, it doesn't mean I like Hillary. God, no, after what she's done to the planet, what she's done to Gaddafi in Libya, most likely because he was creating his own debt-free currency, or what she's done to my personal friends and heroes, whistleblowers Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Chelsea Manning. I'm sure everybody in this room knows who they are, but Chelsea Manning, this beautiful transgender human being who took the largest data spillage in American history, took it out of the army, put it onto a Lady Gaga CD, snuck it out, put it onto WikiLeaks to share the war crimes with the world. Now, you can think that she's a hero, you can think that she's a traitor, but you all have to admit she was so brave, so courageous to walk around the army surrounded by tough US Army personnel with a Lady Gaga CD. Or Edward Snowden, working for the NSA, lets us know that all of our phone calls, all of our emails are being spied upon because we're all potential terrorists. All of a sudden, his only chance to get asylum is with Vladimir Putin in Russia. I'd love to have heard when Obama asked to get Snowden back. Oh, you're looking for Edward Snowden? Okay, no problem. I hope you find him. No. Julian Assange, founder of WikiLeaks, best hacker in the world, lets us know about the Icelandic bankers taking the wealth from the masses, putting it in the hands of the few, and then all of a sudden there's rape allegations against them. Clearly, I couldn't trust the media that had let me down in the past, so I looked into it. Turns out he had consensual sex with a human being and the condom broke. The woman refused to sign the statement saying the policeman made up the charges. She put up on Twitter, "I was not raped by Julian Assange. Women Against Rape, the organisation, fully backed Julian Assange." So you can see, if there's any crime here committed at all, it's the crime of having a pointy penis. But I'm pretty sure it's not illegal to have a needle knob. We'd have to start rounding up all the sharp shafts. "Hey, what are you in for?" 7 years armed robbery. What about yourself?" "I got a case of the pyramid pecker." And anyway, of course the condom broke. It's Julian Assange. He's the best in the world at breaking through all forms of protection. Maybe that's why Anonymous, the hacktivist group, are anonymous. Because they're afraid that if they come out, they'll get punished too. I'd love to go to one of their meetings. "Hey, haven't I seen you somewhere before?" "I couldn't possibly say." I'd just go up to a big group of guys and I'd shout out, "Hey, John!" One of them's bound to turn around and I'd go, "Gotcha." And we don't need Anonymous or WikiLeaks to tell us about the crimes. I mean, do you ever think that you can you're like an eagle and you can see stuff that everyone else can't see? And you're just surrounded in this world where I mean, do you ever watch the TV and you see someone doing a suicide bombing and you say to yourself, "I could do that"? Come on, we've all asked ourselves, would you die for what you believe in? I know I would. If I was 90. But life's too good. You want to enjoy it. You want to do all the best things in life. You want to hang out with your friends and your loved ones. But at the same time, you want to make a difference. And that's when I came up with geriatric jihad. Enjoy every single moment of your life. Don't waste your time with petitions. Nobody reads them. Don't waste your time with protests. 15 million people protested against Iraq. It still happened. ISIS exists. I'm saying enjoy every single moment, but with the knowledge that when the time comes, you're 90 years old and the doctor says, "You only have a week left to live." Do the right thing and blow up the central bank. Any vegans, vegetarians here? Yeah. All right, you can take out McDonald's, KFC, Burger King, but I know who I'm getting. I'm taking out the Bilderberg Group. Yeah. All right. The oligarchs, the monarchs, the world leaders that meet once a year, every year since 1954, documented fact. They'll all be there doing what they always do, planning global domination and playing Twister in the nude. The directors from Shell and BP will be pouring oil on little dolphins' faces just for fun. Rupert Murdoch will be bragging to the Queen of England. "I can control the minds of the masses with my massive media empire." One used to have an empire once. But now one spends most of one's time giving titles to paedophiles. And she'll be just about to give a knighthood to Gary Glitter, but she'll be distracted by her husband, Prince Philip, talking to President Obama. "I believe you might be at the wrong meeting. But don't be offended, my grandson's a big fan. Could you sign this basketball, please?" President Obama will not be offended at yet another racial slur by the royal family of England because he'll be busy arguing with Vladimir Putin. "Yes, we can. We are the United States of America. Yes, we can invade 7 countries in 8 years. Yes, we can militarize our police force. Yes, we can." Okay, I get it. You could do whatever you like. Just stay out of the Ukraine or I will rip off my shirt and ride you like a bear. Hillary Clinton will be there too in the background deleting emails as fast as she fucking can. Donald Trump in the other corner with his Lego bricks building a wall. Jeremy Corbyn will be trying to explain the necessity of human rights to Theresa May, but she'll be busy stamping on an orphan's head. The Irish politicians will be there with their bags of cash, throwing at Apple, going, fucking take it. What would he do with it? Fucking go on. We just make a horse's bollocks of it anyway. Bill Clinton will be there too, being cool as always, arm around Angela Merkel from Germany, smiling with a cigar in his hand, whispering, Schnell, schnell. Oh nein, danke Bill. I'm too busy fucking the rest of Europe. And if you look down at her feet, you'll see the Irish leader, Enda Kenny, this snivelling little fucking rat. On his knees, praying. Holy Merkel, mother of Germany, take all our natural resources, our oil, our fish, our gas, our water, give it to the corporations, but just leave a few euros for the politicians and we'll be forever in your debt. Amen. A rock hits him, instantly dead. Nobody gives a shit. Where did the rock come from? Well, George Bush is throwing rocks at anybody who can't defend themselves. But it's not George's fault. Donald's picking them up in the corner for his wall. But it's not George's fault because he's distracted by the fact that Tony Blair's face is wrapped around his cock. And he has to listen to the constant irritating sound of David Cameron. Oh, come on, Tony, when's it going to be my turn? As soon as you get your cock out of the dead pig's mouth. Well, let's not judge any of these fellow human beings. Maybe they know more information than we have. Maybe they're acting from a place of fear. And besides, if you look closely, you'll see that they've got strings attached to their wrists. And if you follow those strings, you see the puppet masters at the top. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the boys from Goldman Sachs. But let's not judge these fellow human beings either, because they too have strings attached. And if you follow those strings, you see the ultimate world puppet master at the top. Bono. Un, dos, tres, quatorze. Oh, that's my cue. I'll say to my grandson, are you sure you want to do it, Grandad? I've been waiting my whole life and to make a difference in this world. Tell your granny Lily I love her and push me. Whee! I'll be going down the hill in my wheelchair with 90 dynamite sticks all strapped in, lit up like birthday candles, one for each ear, and a hot water bottle to keep me warm. Whee! The Bilderbergers will be terrified, except for Putin. Nothing scares him. Cameron and Blair will be using the Queen as a human shield. One is too young to die. And a little tear will roll down her face. And that's when I'll get my last erection. The grandkids will be bragging about me. Where's your granddad buried? Where isn't he buried? Some of my friends think I'm serious about this stuff, just so you know. Just so you know, I don't actually think that older people should take their own lives to make society a better place. I believe what the Buddha said. Hatred does not cease by hating, but by love. Or what Jesus said. The answer's inside of you. But my friend Leslie, who practices Tantra, she said, in order to see inside yourself, you need at least 2 mirrors. And I get it. Not everybody has 2 mirrors, the time, the flexibility, or the space before your housemate Steve comes home and catches you in an awkward position with your leg in the tall boy in the master bedroom. All right, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Hello. Is this thing on? I mean, obviously the answer is love, but that's a bit vague, right? So, as in, like, to be more material, I think that the answer is money. In the sense, I think if we had a monetary system that was made for the people, by the people, we could have a better world. Well, that's at least what the show's meant to be about. Because this has been going on for years. We knew this stuff like hundreds, thousands of years ago. Abraham Lincoln once said, I have 2 great enemies. The bankers, I have 2 great enemies. The Southern armies at my... This is going to be edited, this bit. Watch this. I can make a bollocks of this bit. You can see my bald head. It's not going to be in the movie, so it's grand. Right, what's who? What? Rewind. Oh, that's not really a rewind sound, is it? It's grand. It's cool. I got this. All right, Roddy, how are you getting on? Why did she leave? She met a boy. She met a boy. She left at the bit. Who is he? Which boy is he that he's more important than me? Is he? Are they kissing? All right. Okay. Maybe. Maybe if we're really quiet, we can hear the kissing noises around the background. That's you. All right. Okay. Back to the show. Right. Abraham Lincoln once said, "I have two great enemies. The Southern armies at my front and the bankers at my rear. And of the two, the bankers are my greatest foe." Now, this phrase is often paraphrased by the tens of thousands of people in Ireland who've lost their homes. You often hear them say something like, "Those bleeding bankers are up me hole." They lack the eloquence of Lincoln. But it's been going on for years. Like, it all started with the goldsmiths. We gave them our gold and our silver, and they gave us receipts, and we used those receipts as currency, much like we do today with paper, because it's obviously lighter than the gold. But the problem was that the goldsmiths, the sneaky goldsmiths, when they found out that we didn't take all the gold at the same time, they started issuing extra receipts, making themselves rich at our expense. And when we found out, we killed them. So they made it legal. They called it fractional reserve banking, FRB, because that sounds way better than financial rape and buggery. But if this system, guys, if this system continues, ultimately there has to be a bank run. And I learned about bank runs, as many of you probably did, from the factual documentary Mary Poppins. Remember, the kid tries to get his coin, and then there's panic, everybody tries to get their money. Now, if there's a bank run, there's two possible outcomes. The first one is some people get their money back, and the rest of the depositors lose everything. Obviously, they're going to get upset. They're going to go to their government. The government are going to get involved, take the directors of the bank, send them to prison, and then issue a debt-free currency to ensure that it never happens again. Or the bankers and the government work together. And then they come up with a phrase like, the banks are too big to fail. Now, I don't see any chimney sweeps dancing on the roofs singing Chim Chim Chiroo, or children on the streets laughing, singing, "Super banks too big to fail, rob billions that they owe us." Even though the interest rates are something quite atrocious. If they do it long enough, the people will be homeless. Super banks too big to fail, rob billions that they owe us. Now, you can't do a show about money without mentioning the richest family on earth, the Rothschilds. But the problem is, when you mention the Rothschilds, often people go, "That's the conspiracy theory." And nobody wants to be conspiracy guy. Right? That guy at home in his mother's basement thinks it's an Armageddon shelter. 9/11, was it an inside job? What about the other tower, World Trade Tower number 7? It fell down, it wasn't even hit by a plane. How did it fall down if it wasn't hit by a plane? And the BBC reported before it fell down. How do they know? Intuition? Where was their intuition with their own employee, Jimmy Savile? When another employee said that she was abused, they said, "Shut your mouth," which is the exactly opposite of what that pervert said. But it wasn't just the towers, it was the boat too. They sunk the Titanic. JP Morgan got off the boat on the 11th hour. It wasn't the Titanic, it was the sister ship, the Olympic. They switched the boats. And you can see the letters on YouTube. MP. They're not in Titanic. They killed Leonardo DiCaprio. It was the greatest switch of all time. Except for when they switched Paul McCartney with the fake Paul McCartney, Fall McCartney. Because the real Paul McCartney died in a car crash in 1966. They even sang about it. He blew his mind out in a car. He didn't notice that the lights had changed. They had to kill John and George. But they didn't bother with Ringo. Nobody'd believe him. But they also kill Michael Jackson. They kill Michael Jackson, the king of pop, just because he wanted to make the world a better place. For you and for me. You and for me. And not just the king of pop, they killed Prince too, because he talked about chemtrails, live on television, sodium, barium, strontium, aluminium dropping from clouds, from planes on top of people, keeping them stupid and dumb. And we know it's real because before chemtrails, there was no X Factor. And the only way to protect yourself was with tinfoil hats. But tinfoil hats, oh, they're made from aluminium. How can you protect yourself from aluminium with aluminium? The Americans call it aluminum. Illuminati hats. Now I know the real meaning of purple rain. But don't let it get you down, because every cloud has a silver lining. Oh, aluminium lining. Sneaky governments with their sneaky agreements like TTIP, or their sneaky operations like Operation Paperclip, where they took 1,500 Nazis after the war, they brought them over to America to work for the American government, and they called it Operation Paperclip, because if you think about it, that's kind of like a folded up swastika. Operation Northwood, where they were going to blow up a bus of American people and blame it on the Cubans so they could start a war, a false flag. But if you think about it, there's a lot of false flags. Yeah, like the one on the moon. Yeah, right, we could land on a reptilian spaceship. But not everybody knows what's going on because their brains are rotten from Diet Coke. Aspartame and Diet Coke, approved by the FDA. FDA, fucking dumb asses. Donkeys. Jesus rode into town on a donkey, and then the bankers definitely killed him. Anyway, nobody wants to be conspiracy guy. Nobody wants to be conspiracy guy, even though he does make a lot more sense than a lot of the mainstream media. Yeah, there he is over there. So, the Rothschilds. Now, I get it. Most people talk about the Rothschilds, they're like, oh, they're the problem with the whole world. And I'm sure it's not that simple. So his name wasn't even Rothschild, it was Amstel. About 300 years ago, this guy had a money lending shop, and at the top of his shop he had like a red shield, and in Germany that's Rothschild. Lucky it was a shield and not a spear, or he would have looked like a right prick. Now maybe it's just the greatest rags to riches story of all time. Just where one poor person became rich. The richest man in the world. The greatest rags to riches story, of course, until this year, when Leicester won the Premier League. But how he got rich was Napoleon. It was kind of Napoleon time, so he got really rich. Is Napoleon once said he hated the bankers. Since the hand that gives is above the hand that takes, money has no motherland. Financiers are without patriotism and without decency. Their sole objective is gain. Now he also said to his girlfriend, "You are coming, aren't you? You are going to be here beside me, in my arms, on my breast, on my mouth. Take wing and come again. A kiss on your heart and one much lower down. Much lower." Dirty little French pervert. And that's why he always had his hand over here like that. So the Battle of Waterloo. This is how Rothschild got really rich. Napoleon and Waterloo had a fight. Waterloo won, but Rothschild had the best transport system in the world at the time, so he found out 24 hours before anybody else in England. And what he did is he started selling English bonds, thus giving the impression that England lost. The market crashed. Everybody started selling the bonds, but secretly he was buying them up in the background. So in one day, he made 400 times his wealth, bankrupt England so badly that they gave him the square mile of London City and control over the central bank. Not bad for a day's work. I once did a gig in London, got £400 sterling and a free night's accommodation. I thought I was doing great. But in my defence, Rothschild, I only had to work for an hour. One of the sneaky things, right, that the Rothschild family have done for years is they hide behind a name. So the Federal Reserve Act gives the impression that it's something to do with America, the federal, but it's a privately owned bank. And it's the same in most places in the world, like in Ireland, 1948, the Central Bank of Ireland Act, giving the impression it's something to do with Ireland, again, privately owned bank. But he got a little bit sloppy because in the 70s in France, it's known as the Rothschilds Law. Yeah, what's it going to be called next? We've Got Your Money Act. In Ireland, we had a revolution 100 years ago. You all know that. We don't shut up about it. But it was done by writers. And one of the first things that we did is we issued our own currency because we wanted a debt-free currency. But our revolution was done by writers and poets. So the name of our currency was, and they chose a name that would rhyme easily in poems with the name that's most often used to describe the bankers. And for the non-Irish people who'll be watching this, the Irish currency was called the... Deadly. Now here's the problem with this show. The ice. We're going to edit that out. Nah, it's cool. My cousin said, you can't do a show about the Rothschilds, people are going to call you an anti-Semite. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't care about what their religion, I'm just talking about the fact that they own the monetary system that's enslaving humanity. And he's like, no, they're going to call you an anti-Semite. And I was like, what? No, hang on. It's like, they're going to kill you. And I was like, nobody's going to kill me. And just so you guys think, I am aware, by the way, I am aware that the banking system will be affected by my comedy show as much as terrorism will be affected by people changing their profile pictures to flags. And anyway, no one's going to kill me. And anyway, even if I was killed, I'd be happy to die for truth. At least maybe finally I'd have over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. But I'd hate to be called an anti-Semite. That'd be a horrible label to carry, right? Imagine, like, some of my favourite people are Jewish. Einstein, Dustin Hoffman, Harry Potter. Great singers, Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen, Tom Waits, the beautiful actress Scarlett Johansson. I would sacrifice a foreskin for that. And my favourite Jewish person of all time, Jesus. I mean, apart from Scarlett, of course. But if anything, I should be anti-Germans. But I'm not. I'm not anti-anyone. I'm not anti-Germite. I'm not anti-Semite. Yeah, I'm a little bit anti-Marmite. But I thought about this label because I realised this is really powerful. If people are afraid to speak the truth, like say someone wants to talk about children getting killed in Palestine and they get called an anti-Semite for that, it's the word that has the power. And I realised we do that too. Like we do it with homophobic or misogynist or other words. Like Vladimir Putin, right? You can like him, you can hate him, right? That's completely up to you. But anytime I try to have an adult conversation with anybody, they're like, I don't like him, he's a homophobe. And I'm like, yeah, but let's look at the full picture, right? He did ban GMOs, he did ban fracking, he kicked the Rothschilds out, he gave asylum to Snowden. I don't care what he's done, he's a homophobe. And I was like, well, the law is actually very similar to the British law. Have you read it? I don't care, he's a homophobe, I don't care what he's done, he's a homophobe. And I was like, wow, if that's your attitude, then basically it doesn't matter what he could do, he could cure world poverty and bring Princess Diana back from the dead and you'd still be like, fuck him, he hates rainbows. And I saw it here in Ireland too. I saw, because we're a pro-life country still, and I saw somebody who said to someone who's pro-life, you're a misogynist. And I didn't think that's reasonable. I don't think that's reasonable. Everybody's entitled to their own point of view. For the record, I'm pro-choice in the sense that I think a woman should be allowed to do whatever she wants with her own body. But mainly, I just don't think men should be allowed to vote on it. After what men have done to women for thousands of years, I don't think you shouldn't be asking our permission. I mean, for fucking so long, we've like stopped women getting educated, stopped them having jobs, stopped them inheriting, having any financial independence. We've told them who to marry, we've beaten them, we've burnt them at witches. And even today, some people get stoned. I mean, no man should ever tell a woman she can't have an abortion. Unless, maybe, if there was a scan and it turned out it was a male. I mean, we're hardly going to let them kill one of us. But that's the thing with comedy. You say something like that and people, like, they don't fully get the full picture and they get offended. I once did I did a joke. I did an entire hour show about human rights. Men, women, gay, straight, people from all around the world. And there was one joke that was slightly offensive. And of course there was feminists in the crowd. My friends, feminists, some of them. And here's the joke. I said, if there was a Christian feminist and a guy pinched her ass, would she turn the other cheek? Yeah. Right. But online, I was called, you see, there we go, people offended. How dare he? But I got called a misogynist online, and I was like, that's not fair. What about everything else that I fucking said? You know, I was like, I did remember the Chelsea Manning joke. I once called Chelsea Manning on stage Bradley Manning because I didn't quite understand the transgender thing fully, and I'm still trying to learn about it. It's new for me and for the world, kind of. And I called Chelsea male, I called Chelsea he and Bradley, and the trans community contacted me and said, you've got to take that down. You're a transphobe. And I was like, whoa, hang on a second. This is your issue. I'm talking about Manning being free to walk free in the world. You're talking about Manning being free to wear high heels. This isn't my fight. You're distracting from the issue I'm trying to talk about. But I'm not transphobe. I'll change the pronoun. But here's the thing. I think even if the entire world changed the pronoun, you'd still get your knickers in a twist. I didn't write that. I just agreed because ironically enough, I didn't have the balls. But what I did notice is sometimes I became afraid of offending people. How can I do a comedy show? How can I talk about real issues if people are going to get offended? I don't mean bad, and I'm learning all the time, but then I realized I'm afraid of feeling fear, which actually makes me a phobophobe. They're talking about this issue in America now. You probably know that, the toilets, where people will go to the toilet. And I think it's nice to see the President of America concerning himself whether American people should use gender-specific toilets, gender-neutral toilets, or to do what they've always done and just shit all over the rest of the world. In California, it's illegal to urinate in public. If you urinate in public, you go on the sex offenders list. You're a sex offender if you piss in public. Imagine that shit in Ireland. Every one of us, man, woman and child, serial sex offenders. In Britain, it's also illegal to urinate in public. If you urinate in public in Britain, you get fined £40. Now, if you're a sex offender, you get your own TV show and a knighthood. I was travelling, and I was in Australia at the Perth Fringe, and I was cycling my bicycle. My long blonde hair flowing in the wind, whee, having the time of my life from across the road I hear, hey, you on the bike, where's your fucking helmet? Yeah, I'm a copper. I nearly fell off my bike, which would have been terrible because I wasn't wearing a helmet. And if that's how the cops sound, how do the criminals sound? And I was thinking, oh yeah, it must be the other way around there, you know, because they're upside down. I can picture the guys in prison every morning. Good morning, Chopper. Would you like some lemonade? Well, my Australian mate explained it to me. The reason you get fined $319 for not wearing a helmet is because if you get hit by a car, you'll go to a hospital and the state will have to pay for you. I was like, bullshit. You were fining me for being a victim for a crime that hasn't even happened. And that's what they do. In Brisbane, this guy got fined $44 for leaving his window open 4 centimetres. That's $11 per centimetre for increasing the chances of a crime happening. But if anybody's increasing the chances of a crime happening, it's the guy giving the ticket, increasing the chances of a fucking murder happening. And in Melbourne, it's illegal to have a picnic. You need a picnic. You need a permit for a picnic. Yeah, right. Hey, you, is that a jam sandwich in your mouth? Yeah, man. I'm just having a picnic. An unauthorized picnic. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Dude, I'm already on the ground. I was in Singapore. I was doing a gig in Singapore, and fucking hell, it's illegal to have chewing gum there. If you have chewing gum in your mouth, you can go to prison. It's also illegal to be gay. if you're a man, if you have your manhood in another man's mouth, that man can go to prison. Now, if that man's mouth has chewing gum in it at the same time, then you're really in a sticky situation. When I was there, I saw my very, very first girlfriend when I was just a teenager. She was there because she's living there now because her husband is like has a lucrative job there. Yeah, he's an oil trader. Yeah, Brian, he's an oil trader, and it's a great job. It's a great job. If you don't give a shit about the planet. Oh yeah, I get it. I sound like I'm. I get it. I sound like I'm. You know. Like I'm. Like I haven't let it go, like I'm still attached to it, like I'm bitter. I'm not bitter. It was 17 years ago. Next Tuesday at 4 p.m. No, and anyway, the dad, he'd make a better dad than me. He's like a great dude. He's like, you know, he's come back on the weekends. He'd spend some time with the kids. Hey, son, why are you crying? Oh, because the aquarium is just a swimming pool, because daddy killed all the fish. Well, if you're a good little boy and you stop crying, afterwards we can all go for some chips and chips. Nah, it was great. It was great. It was just like old times. You know, Izzy was great. We had lunch. She poured me a cup of tea. She took her nipple out. To breastfeed the kid, of course, right? But the kid started staring at me. His eyes started penetrating me, like the way I used to penetrate his mum. But the kid started staring at me. He's like, you could have been my dad. And for a minute, my entire life flashed before me. I was thinking, yeah, I could have stayed being a banker. I could have got married younger and had kids. No, Aidan, there'd be much less laughter in the world. Oh, thanks, guys. Cheers. Oh, thanks. You could have been my dad. No, seriously, Aidan, you're more than a comedian. Every sentence you say has so much wisdom. We love you, Aidan. Oh, thanks, guys. That's amazing. I really appreciate that. The kid's eyes just started looking at me, and I started looking back, and I was thinking, yeah, I could have been your dad. Yeah, but you left before I was even an idea. And now I'm sucking Izzy's nipple the way you used to and never will again. Na, 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 na. I was like, whatever, sloppy seconds. But it got me thinking about having a kid. I'm 36. Should I have a kid? Should I bring a child into this world? And I don't know the answer to that. Sometimes I think the world's so dark, I'm not sure. And other times I'm thinking, well, maybe. But you know what? Maybe if I had a kid, it'd be different. Maybe if I had a kid, I wouldn't let it drink Diet Coke with aspartame. I wouldn't let it watch TV, programming it with all that shit, or going to a school where they teach it how to obey orders. Maybe if I had a kid, my kid could be the answer. It could be like the modern day Jesus. But then I was thinking, fuck it, do I really want a kid with an Indian accent? But I thought about it, and I'm okay. I see a lot of hope in the world. I experience hope, and ever since the first time when I experienced success just when I was a little sperm. That moment when 500 million sperm shot through my mother's body in a life or death race, which would be the equivalent of one of us running for 10,000 miles without stopping for a sip of Red Bull. Of course there was moments when I said, I can't do it, I'm not good enough, there's 500 million other sperms, some of them are shaped better than me, I need some chocolate. But there's a moment when I said, I can do it. I can be a human being, and I threw the chocolate away and I moved my spermy little being through her body. There was obstacles in the way. 2-headed sperms from a foreign male entity, designed for the sole purpose of killing sperms from a foreign male entity. What the fuck are you doing in here? So the sperms going towards the cervix, and I tried to help them and say, you're going the wrong way, but they weren't so helpful. They tried to trip me up, but it was cool, I didn't have legs. I saw the other sperms at the G-spot singing, celebrate good times, come on! And I wanted a party too, but I didn't have time, I was on a mission, so I said, that is premature ejaculation, and I kept on going. And I got to the fallopian tube, and I jumped down it, wee! That's not wee, that's pre-cum, wee! And one of the other sperms dressed in blue said, "Where's your fucking helmet?" Whee! I said, "What are you talking about? You're just a sperm." And I kept on going. And I realized I was going the wrong way, so I turned around and I found the egg. And just before I came to the egg, 100 other sperms jumped on that egg. It released an enzyme and they instantly died, sacrificing themselves for me, like little jihadi sperms. And that's when I said, if I become a human being, I will do the right thing for all of humanity. I will quit banking, I will become a comedian, I will create a comedy show to explain the true nature of money so people can leave with this knowledge in their brains, and they will leave less attached to the notes in their pockets, and they will take those notes and they will throw them at me when they're buying my book later on at the end of the show. And they will leave going, "Wow, he did like an hour of clean, intelligent comedy. It was amazing. However, he did this bit at the end. It's just like a 3-minute bit about sperm and just threw it in our faces." Why would he do that? Because that's the perfect way of ending a show called The Money Shot. No. You're right. No, you're right. You're right. It's not a good enough way to end the show. You're right. I've been thinking about this. It's weak. I just sold out at the end. I did this little fucking bit about a happy ending with some cock jokes. That's not fair to you. You expect more than that. I see that. Because really what I wanted to say in this show was the people who speak the truth, like whistleblowers, get punished. And those people who lie for greed and for war and for fear, they become our leaders, our political leaders. And those political leaders and all the governments are owned by their puppet masters who control the entire monetary system, and anyone who stands up to them gets killed. But that's not very funny. And I get it. Sometimes my stuff isn't funny. That's why I'm not in Kilconomics. That's why you don't see me on TV. I get it. Broadway Baby last year gave me a 1-star review. This year I got a 2-star review. Yeah, the worst thing about Aidan's show is like he sucks the funny from his own material. Ha ha ha. I get it. And YouTube, I get it. I fucking see the stuff. What a massive twat. Aidan Killian, worse than Hitler. Ha ha ha. I get it. It's not for everybody. And there's some people, you know, outside this room and they're thinking like, "Aidan, why don't you just do more dick jokes? Why don't you just do the bit about with your girlfriend again? Why don't you know the way men and women are different? What do you want from me? You want me to do fucking knock-knock jokes? You want me to... Do you want me to do... do you want me to do why did the chicken cross the road joke? Is that it? I can't do that, because if I was to do that, there'd have to be a point to it. There'd have to be a point, would have to like show the society's so fucked up, and then there'd have to be a bit in it that brings us all together. So, because if there's nothing behind the joke, there's no point. And I know that there's people out there thinking, "Fuck you, Aidan, you're so arrogant. You think you know more than everyone else. You think you can see something that no one else can see." Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's right. And I don't want to sound arrogant, but let me tell you why. Because I'm like an eagle soaring through the sky. And you're like a fluffy little bunny rabbit in a forest, walking towards a forest fire with all the other dumb animals doing what dumb animals do, like chasing fucking Pokemon. And the sheep are there too. The sheep are there too, watching X Factor, singing covers of mediocre songs that all sound like meh, 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 meh. Two pigs start walking towards the fire, getting closer and closer, start licking each other's backsides. Crispy bacon. But they get distracted by a rustling in the bushes. It's just David Cameron again. There's a grey squirrel that takes the food from the red squirrel, and he's only going to save the food for later. And considering the impeding situation, that's completely nuts. A horse comes along and says, "Hey guys, maybe we should choose a different path. Maybe we should choose a path, one that's good for all of us." And instead of listening to him, they turn on him. Even the normally bucolic cow says, "What's your beef? You're a naysayer. Shut up or we'll turn you into burgers and sell you to Tesco's." So the horse gallops away with the long face. The owl in the tree meditating, not caring about the fire, doesn't give a hoot. And the rabbit goes on fire. And part of me is thinking, fuck him, let it burn. But another part of me is like, no, I can save this fellow being. And I fly immediately down to the water and I soak my feathers with water and I fly above its head. And I save its life. What you do that for? Now I'm wet. It's because I'm a rabbit. You're an anti-rabbite. And the chicken and the peacock are having a conversation. The chicken says, we should probably listen to the horse. It's getting really hot in here. And the peacock says, no, the reason it's hot is because of global warming and we should just do whatever our government says and pay loads of taxes and ask no questions. And the chicken says, I can't live in a world surrounded by such fucking morons, and it decides to take its own life and walk in front of a truck. And that's why the chicken crossed the road. Guys, thank you so much for being here.